The evening sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink as Marcus Chen walked through the back entrance of the Grand Palace Hotel. He carried his old leather bag over his shoulder and wore his favorite black suit. The suit was not new. In fact, it was more than 10 years old, but Marcus took very good care of it. He ironed it every morning and fixed every small tear with his own hands. He believed that a man should always look respectable, no matter how little money he had in his pocket. Marcus was 42 years old. His hair was starting to turn gray at the sides, and there were lines around his eyes from years of worry and hard work, but his hands were still strong and beautiful. They were the hands of a piano player, and that was exactly what Marcus did for a living. Every evening, from 6 o'clock until midnight, he sat at the grand piano in the hotel lobby and played music for the guests. The Grand Palace Hotel was one of the finest hotels in the city. Rich businessmen stayed there. Famous actors and singers walked through its golden doors. Politicians held important meetings in its private rooms, and every night these powerful people sat in the beautiful lobby, drinking expensive wine and talking about millions of dollars. They barely noticed the man at the piano. To them, Marcus was just part of the background, like the paintings on the walls or the flowers on the tables, but Marcus did not mind. He had learned long ago that the world was not fair. Some people were born with everything, and others had to fight for every small thing. He was one of the fighters, and he had something that no amount of money could buy. He had his daughter, Lily. Lily was 15 years old and the center of Marcus's universe. She had her mother's smile and her father's love for music. Her mother, Sarah, had died when Lily was just 5 years old. A sudden illness took her away in less than 3 months. After Sarah's death, Marcus made a promise to himself. He would give Lily the best life he could. He would work hard. He would never complain. He would make sure his daughter never felt alone in this world. So every day, Marcus woke up early to make Lily's breakfast. He walked her to school when she was younger. He helped her with homework at night. And when she fell asleep, he went to the hotel to play piano until his fingers ached. Their apartment was small. It had only one bedroom, which Marcus gave to Lily. He slept on the old sofa in the living room, but their home was filled with love, and that was enough. Tonight, as Marcus sat down at the piano, he noticed something different. The hotel staff was running around faster than usual. The manager was shouting orders. Fresh flowers were being placed everywhere. Red carpets were being rolled out at the entrance. Something big was happening. "What is going on?" Marcus asked one of the waiters who walked past him. "Did you not hear?" the waiter said with excitement in his voice. "The Hayes Corporation is holding a charity gala here tonight. The CEO herself is coming. Victoria Hayes, one of the richest women in the country." Marcus felt his heart stop for a moment. He was not sure he had heard correctly. "Victoria Hayes," he repeated slowly. "Yes, Victoria Hayes," the waiter said. "She is famous, beautiful, powerful. They say she built her company into a billion-dollar empire. Tonight, she is hosting a charity event to raise money for children's education. Very important people are coming. We must make everything perfect." The waiter hurried away, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. His hands rested on the piano keys, but he could not move them. His mind had traveled back in time, 16 years back, to a small apartment, to a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle laugh, to a love that had changed his life forever. Victoria. Could it really be the same Victoria? Marcus shook his head and tried to push the memories away. It was impossible. The Victoria he knew was a simple college student. She wore old jeans and liked to walk in the rain. She laughed at his silly jokes and cried when he played sad songs for her. She could not be the same person as this powerful CEO. But deep inside, Marcus knew the truth. He had always known. Years ago he had seen her face in a magazine. He had seen her name in the newspapers. He knew that the woman he once loved had become someone very important, but he had never tried to contact her. What would he say? He was just a poor piano player. She was a billionaire. They lived in different worlds now. Marcus took a deep breath and began to play. The music filled the lobby as the first guests started to arrive. Men in expensive suits, women in beautiful dresses. They walked past the piano without looking at him. Marcus kept his eyes on the keys. He did not want to see her. He did not want to remember. But then, the room became quiet. People stopped talking. Everyone turned toward the entrance, and Marcus looked up. There she was. Victoria Hayes walked into the lobby like a queen entering her palace. She wore a long silver dress that sparkled under the lights. Her dark hair was pulled back elegantly. Her face was calm and confident. She was surrounded by assistants and bodyguards. Important people rushed forward to shake her hand. Marcus could not breathe. She was still beautiful, even more beautiful than he remembered. But there was something different about her. Her eyes, which once sparkled with warmth and joy, now looked cold and distant. Her smile, which once made his heart sing, now seemed practiced and empty. Life had changed her. Power had changed her. Victoria walked through the lobby, greeting guests and shaking hands. She did not look toward the piano. She did not notice the man sitting there with trembling hands and a broken heart. Why would she? He was nobody to her now, just a ghost from a past she had probably forgotten. Marcus forced himself to keep playing. His fingers moved automatically across the keys while his mind was lost in memories. He remembered the first time he saw her at a small coffee shop. He remembered their long walks by the river. He remembered the night he played her a song he had written just for her. And he remembered the morning he woke up to find her gone, with no explanation, no goodbye, nothing, Dad. A soft voice broke through his thoughts. Marcus looked up and saw Lily standing next to the piano. She was holding a small paper bag. Lily, what are you doing here? He asked, surprised. You forgot your dinner again, Lily said with a small smile, so I brought it to you. Marcus felt his heart warm. His daughter was always taking care of him, even though it should be the other way around. Thank you, sweetheart. You did not have to come all this way. Lily sat down on the bench next to him. Her eyes wandered around the beautiful lobby, taking in the fancy decorations and well-dressed guests. Then her gaze stopped on Victoria Hayes, who was now standing near the grand staircase, talking to a group of businessmen. Who is that woman? Lily asked. The one in the silver dress. Marcus did not answer immediately. He kept playing, hoping Lily would not notice his discomfort. Dad, Lily looked at him with curious eyes. Do you know her? You look strange. Marcus shook his head quickly. She is just a guest. Sweetheart, a very important guest. Now, you should go home. It is getting late. But Lily did not move. She kept looking at her father, then at the woman in the silver dress. She noticed how her father's hands were shaking slightly. She noticed how he avoided looking in that direction. She was young, but she was not stupid. Something was wrong. Something her father was not telling her. And Lily decided that she would find out what it was. 16 years ago, the world was a different place for Marcus Chen. He was 26 years old, full of dreams and hope. He lived in a tiny studio apartment in the oldest part of the city. The walls were thin, the heating never worked properly, and the bathroom was so small that he could barely turn around in it. But Marcus did not care about any of that. He had his piano, his music, and his belief that one day, the world would hear his songs. Every morning, Marcus would wake up before sunrise and write music. He would sit at his old keyboard, close his eyes, and let the melodies flow from his heart to his fingers. He wrote songs about love, about dreams, about the beauty of ordinary life. He believed that music could change people. He believed that a single song could touch someone's soul and make them feel less alone in this big, cold world. During the day, Marcus worked small jobs to pay his rent. He played piano at restaurants. He gave music lessons to children. He played at weddings and birthday parties. The money was never enough, but it kept him alive. And every night he went back to his tiny apartment and continued writing. It was during this time that he met her. Victoria was sitting alone at a small coffee shop near the university. Marcus had gone there to get warm because his apartment's heating had broken down again. He noticed her immediately. She was reading a book, her dark hair falling over her face. She wore simple clothes, just jeans and an old sweater. But there was something special about her, something that made Marcus unable to look away. He gathered his courage and walked over to her table. "Excuse me," he said nervously. "Is this seat taken?" Victoria looked up. Her eyes were dark brown, warm, and intelligent. She smiled and shook her head. "Please, sit down." They talked for hours that day. Marcus told her about his music. Victoria told him about her studies. She said she was a literature student who loved poetry and old books. She never mentioned her family. She never mentioned money. She was just Victoria, a kind and curious young woman who laughed at Marcus's jokes and listened to his dreams with genuine interest. From that day on, they were inseparable. Marcus took Victoria to all his favorite places in the city. He showed her the small park where he liked to sit and think. He took her to the old bridge where the sunset looked most beautiful. He played piano for her at the small restaurants where he worked, and she would sit in the corner watching him with shining eyes. Victoria became part of Marcus's world. She would come to his tiny apartment and cook simple meals while he played music for her. She would sit on his old sofa and read while he worked on new songs. She never complained about the cold or the small space. She said that being with him made her happier than she had ever been. "You know what I love about you," Victoria said one evening as they walked along the river. "You see beauty in everything. You see magic in ordinary things. When I am with you, the world seems more alive." Marcus took her hand and smiled. "And you make me believe that my dreams are possible. When I am with you, I feel like I can do anything." 6 months passed like a beautiful dream. Marcus fell deeper in love with Victoria every day. She was his best friend, his inspiration, his everything. He could not imagine his life without her. And so, he decided to do something special. He would write her a song that would tell her exactly how much she meant to him. Marcus worked on the song for weeks. He poured all his love, all his hope, all his dreams into every note. He called it Forever Yours because that was what he wanted to be. He wanted to belong to Victoria forever. He wanted to build a life with her, to grow old with her, to face whatever challenges came their way. Together, the night he finished the song, Marcus invited Victoria to his apartment. He had bought candles with the little money he had. He had cleaned every corner of the small space. He sat her down on the sofa and took his place at the keyboard. "I wrote something for you," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "It is called Forever Yours. It is my promise to you. No matter what happens, no matter how hard life gets, I will always love you." And then he played. The melody was soft and tender. The words spoke of a love that would never fade, a bond that nothing could break. Victoria listened with tears rolling down her cheeks. When Marcus finished, she ran to him and held him tight. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you more than you will ever know." That night, Marcus went to sleep as the happiest man in the world. He had found his true love. He had found his purpose. Nothing could go wrong now. But when he woke up the next morning, Victoria was gone. At first, Marcus thought she had just stepped out to buy breakfast. But hours passed, and she did not return. He went to the coffee shop where they first met. She was not there. He went to the university. No one knew anyone named Victoria who matched her description. He searched the whole city, asking everyone he met if they had seen her, but it was as if she had vanished into thin air. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Marcus could not eat. He could not sleep. He could not play music. The pain of losing Victoria was worse than anything he had ever experienced. He did not understand what had happened. Had he done something wrong? Had she stopped loving him? Why did she leave without saying goodbye? He never got answers. What Marcus did not know was that Victoria had been living a lie. She was not just a simple college student. She was Victoria Hayes, the only daughter of one of the richest families in the country. Her family owned banks, hotels, factories, and half of the city's real estate. They were powerful people who controlled everything around them. Victoria had run away from her family to experience normal life. She wanted to know what it felt like to be ordinary, to be loved for who she was and not for her money. And with Marcus, she found everything she was looking for: real love, real happiness, real connection. But her family had been searching for her, and they finally found her. The night Victoria told Marcus she loved him, 2 of her father's men were waiting outside his apartment. When Marcus fell asleep, they forced Victoria to come with them. She begged and cried, but they did not listen. They took her back to the Hayes mansion, where her father was waiting with cold fury in his eyes. "You have brought shame to this family," he said. "A poor piano player, a nobody from the streets. You are a Hayes. You will marry someone worthy of your name. You will never see that man again." Victoria fought back. She said she loved Marcus. She said she would run away again. But her father was a powerful man with no mercy. He threatened to destroy Marcus. He said he would make sure Marcus never worked again, never played music again, never had a peaceful moment in his life. "If you truly love him," her father said, "you will let him go. You will disappear and let him live his life. Because if you go back to him, I will make sure he suffers every single day." Victoria had no choice. She loved Marcus too much to let him be hurt. So she stayed. She let her family lock her away. She'll let them control her life. And she never saw Marcus again. What she also did not tell anyone was that she was carrying Marcus's child. Months later, alone and heartbroken, Victoria gave birth. But her father took the baby away before she could even hold it. He told her the child had died. He said it was better this way. And Victoria, broken and empty, believed him. She never knew that her baby was alive. She never knew that somewhere in the city her child was growing up, waiting for the day when the truth would finally come out. The Grand Palace Hotel had never looked more beautiful. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, their light dancing across the marble floors. Hundreds of candles flickered on every table, creating a warm golden glow. Fresh roses filled every corner, their sweet smell mixing with expensive perfumes. The hotel staff had worked for days to prepare for this night. Tonight was the Hayes Foundation Charity Gala, and everything had to be perfect. Marcus sat at the grand piano, his fingers resting lightly on the keys. He had been playing for almost 2 hours now, soft background music that floated through the air like gentle waves. His body was present, but his mind was far away. He kept thinking about Victoria. She was somewhere in this room, talking to important people, smiling her practiced smile. Being the powerful CEO everyone admired, he had managed to avoid looking at her directly. Every time he felt her presence move closer, he lowered his eyes to the piano keys. He did not trust himself. He was afraid of what he might feel if their eyes met. Would he see the Victoria he once loved? Or would he see a stranger? The evening continued with speeches and presentations. Business leaders talked about the importance of education. Politicians made promises that Marcus knew they would probably forget. Victoria took the stage to thank everyone for coming and to explain how the money would be used to build schools in poor areas. Her voice was strong and confident. She spoke like someone used to giving orders and having them followed. Marcus listened to every word. He noticed how Victoria touched her necklace when she was nervous. He noticed how she paused slightly before saying certain words. These were small things, tiny details that probably no one else saw. But Marcus remembered. He remembered everything about her. When Victoria finished her speech, the guests applauded loudly. She smiled and walked back into the crowd. The evening shifted to dinner and conversation. Marcus continued to play, now soft classical pieces that created a pleasant atmosphere for the wealthy guests to enjoy their expensive meals. Then, without warning, the hotel manager walked up to the piano. He was a tall man with a thin mustache who always looked slightly annoyed. "Chen," he said in a low voice, "Miss Hayes has requested live music during the special dance portion of the evening. She wants something romantic. Can you handle that?" Marcus felt his heart jump. "Of course," he said, keeping his voice steady. "When does she want me to start?" "In about 30 minutes. And please, make it good. This is very important for the hotel. We cannot afford to disappoint Miss Hayes." The manager walked away, leaving Marcus alone with his racing thoughts. He would have to play romantic music while Victoria danced with some important businessman or politician. He would have to watch her in another man's arms while pretending to feel nothing. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, Lily was walking through the streets with her school bag on her shoulder. She had not gone home after bringing her father dinner. Instead, she had sat in the park across from the hotel, watching the fancy cars arrive and the beautiful people walk inside. She could not stop thinking about the look on her father's face when he heard Victoria Hayes's name. She could not forget how his hands trembled on the piano keys. Lily loved her father more than anything in the world. He had sacrificed so much for her. He worked long hours. He never bought anything for himself. Every extra dollar he earned went to her education, her clothes, her needs, and he never complained. He always smiled and told her that she was his greatest treasure. But Lily knew that behind her father's smile, there was sadness. She had seen it in his eyes when he thought she was not looking. She had heard him playing sad melodies late at night when he believed she was asleep. There was a pain inside him that he kept hidden, a wound that had never healed. And tonight, for the first time, Lily had seen a clue about what caused that pain. Victoria Hayes. The name echoed in Lily's mind. Who was this woman? How did her father know her? Why did he react so strangely? Lily pulled out her phone and searched for Victoria Hayes on the internet. Hundreds of results appeared. News articles, magazine interviews, business reports. Lily read through them quickly, learning about Victoria's rise to power, her business achievements, her charity work. She was 40 years old, never married, no children. She was described as brilliant but cold, successful but lonely. Then Lily found an old article from 15 years ago. It was about Victoria taking over her father's company after his death. The article mentioned that Victoria had been away for many years, studying abroad, before returning to lead the family business. There was a photo of a younger Victoria receiving an award. She looked different in that picture. Softer, sadder. Lily stared at the photo for a long time. There was something familiar about Victoria's eyes, something that Lily could not explain. She felt a strange connection to this woman she had never met back inside the hotel. The dance portion of the evening began. The lights dimmed. Couples moved to the center of the room. The hotel manager gave Marcus a signal. It was time to play. Marcus took a deep breath and placed his hands on the keys. He had decided to play safe, popular romantic songs that everyone knew. He would not play anything that reminded him of the past. He would not let his emotions take control. But as he started playing, something strange happened. His fingers began moving on their own. The melody that came out was not a popular song. It was something else. Something from deep within his memory. It was the opening notes of Forever Yours. Marcus caught himself and stopped immediately. His heart was pounding. He switched to a different song quickly, hoping no one had noticed. The guests continued dancing, lost in their own conversations. No one seemed to care about the brief change in music. No one except Victoria. She had been standing near the window, pretending to listen to a senator talk about his latest project. But the moment she heard those notes, she froze. Her champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The senator stopped talking, surprised by her reaction. "Miss Hayes, are you all right?" he asked. Victoria did not answer. She was staring at the piano, her face pale as paper. She knew that melody. She had heard it only once before, 16 years ago, in a tiny apartment with thin walls and broken heating. It was the most beautiful song she had ever heard, and only one person in the world could have written it. She started walking toward the piano. Her steps were slow at first, then faster. Her assistants called after her, confused. But Victoria did not stop. She had to know. She had to see. Marcus was focused on the keys, playing a safe classical piece now. He did not see Victoria approaching. He did not know that his brief mistake had revealed everything. Victoria stopped about 10 feet from the piano. She stood there, watching the piano player, studying his face. He was older. His hair was gray. His suit was old. But those hands, those beautiful hands moving across the keys, she would recognize them anywhere. That was him, Marcus, her Marcus. Victoria felt the room spin around her. Memories crashed over her like waves. The coffee shop, the long walks, the tiny apartment, the song, the night they said goodbye without knowing it was goodbye. 16 years of pain and regret rushed through her body all at once. She wanted to call his name. She wanted to run to him and hold him, but she could not move. Her feet were frozen to the floor. Her voice was stuck in her throat. She was Victoria Hayes, the powerful CEO who controlled billions of dollars. But in this moment, she was just Victoria, the broken-hearted girl who had lost the only man she ever loved. A hand touched her shoulder. It was her assistant, Rachel, looking worried. "Miss Hayes, you do not look well. Should we go somewhere private?" Victoria blinked and came back to reality. She looked around. People were staring at her. She had to maintain her image. She could not fall apart in front of everyone. "I am fine," she said, her voice cold and controlled. "I just need some air." She turned and walked away from the piano, away from Marcus, away from the past that was trying to pull her back. But even as she stepped outside into the cool night air, she could still hear the music playing, and she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. What she did not notice was the teenage girl standing across the street, watching everything through the hotel's large windows. Lily had seen everything. She had seen her father's strange reaction. She had seen the powerful CEO drop her glass and walk toward the piano like a ghost. She had seen the woman stare at her father with recognition and pain in her eyes. Something had happened between these two people, something important, and Lily was determined to find out what it was. That night, sleep refused to come to Lily. She lay in her small bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with questions. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same image, the beautiful woman in the silver dress, the look of shock on her face, the way she walked toward the piano like she had seen a ghost. Who was Victoria Hayes to her father? Why did the sight of her make him so nervous? And why did Victoria react so strongly to the music he played? Lily turned on her bedside lamp and sat up. She could hear her father moving around in the living room. He had come home late, as usual, but instead of going to sleep, he was pacing. She could hear his footsteps going back and forth. He always paced when something was troubling him. She thought about going out to talk to him, but something stopped her. Her father was a private man. He did not like to share his problems. Whenever she asked him about the past, about her mother, about his life before she was born, he would smile and change the subject. He was protecting her from something. But from what? Lily got out of bed quietly and walked to a closet. In the back corner, hidden behind old clothes and forgotten toys, there was a box. It was her father's box, filled with things from his past. She had discovered it years ago while cleaning but had never looked inside. She respected her father's privacy, but tonight, her curiosity was too strong. She pulled the box out carefully and placed it on her bed. Her hands were shaking as she lifted the lid. Inside, she found a collection of items that told the story of a life she never knew. Old photographs, concert programs, newspaper clippings about music competitions, a gold medal from a youth piano championship. Her father had been successful once. He had been someone. At the bottom of the box, wrapped in a faded cloth, she found something that made her heart stop. It was an old cassette tape. The label was handwritten in her father's neat handwriting. It said, "Forever yours." For Victoria. Victoria, the same name as the CEO. Lily held the tape in her hands, feeling its weight. This was it. This was the connection. Her father had made something for someone named Victoria. A song that meant enough to him that he kept it hidden for all these years. She looked through the box again and found more evidence. There were letters tied together with a ribbon, old photographs of a young couple, clearly in love. In the photos, she saw a younger version of her father, smiling brighter than she had ever seen him smile. And next to him was a young woman with dark hair and warm eyes. It was Victoria Hayes. She was different in these photos. She looked happy and free and full of life. She looked nothing like the cold, powerful CEO Lily had seen at the hotel. Lily read the letters one by one. They were love letters from Victoria to Marcus. They spoke of dreams and hopes and a future together. They spoke of a love so deep and pure that it made Lily's eyes fill with tears. Her father had been loved. He had been truly, completely loved. But then, the letters stopped. There were no explanations, no goodbye, just nothing, as if Victoria had suddenly disappeared from the world. Lily also found a newspaper clipping from many years ago. It was about Victoria Hayes becoming CEO of her family company. The article called her a business genius, a powerful leader, a woman who had overcome personal tragedy to reach the top. Personal tragedy? What tragedy? The questions multiplied in Lily's mind. Why did Victoria leave? Why did she never come back? Why did she become so different from the warm, loving woman in these photographs? Lily put everything back in the box except the cassette tape. She needed to hear this song. She needed to understand what it meant. She went to the living room where they kept an old tape player. It had belonged to her mother, and her father kept it for sentimental reasons. He probably never imagined that Lily would use it to discover his deepest secret. She inserted the tape and pressed play. Static filled the room for a moment. Then, the sound of a piano began. It was soft and gentle, like a whisper. And then, her father's voice came through, young and full of emotion, singing words that broke her heart. The song was about eternal love, about promising to be with someone through all the storms of life, about holding on even when everything falls apart. It was beautiful and sad and full of longing. Lily had never heard anything so powerful in her life. By the time the song ended, she was crying. She understood now why her father kept this hidden. This was not just a song. This was a piece of his soul. This was everything he had given to a woman who left him without a word. Lily wiped her tears and made a decision. She was going to find out the truth, not for herself, but for her father. He had spent his entire life taking care of her, putting her needs before his own. He had given up his dreams to make sure she had a good life. Now it was her turn to do something for him. The next morning, Lily pretended everything was normal. She ate breakfast with her father, talked about school, and laughed at his silly jokes. But inside, She was planning. She would research Victoria Hayes. She would find out why she left. And if there was any chance, any possibility of giving her father closure, she would take it. Over the next few days, Lily became obsessed with learning about Victoria. She read every article she could find. She watched old interviews on the internet. She studied Victoria's life like it was a school subject. And slowly a picture began to form. Victoria came from one of the richest families in the country. Her father had been a cold, controlling man who cared more about money and power than his own daughter. After his death, Victoria took over the company and built it into an even bigger empire. But she remained alone. No husband, no children, no close relationships. It was as if she had decided to never let anyone get close to her again. Lily also discovered something interesting. The Hayes Foundation, Victoria's charity organization, was about to hold a music scholarship competition for young people from low-income families. The winner would receive a full scholarship and the chance to perform at a special dinner attended by Victoria herself. An idea began to form in Lily's mind. It was crazy, it was risky, but it might just work. She was going to enter the competition. She was going to sing her father's song, and she was going to make Victoria Hayes remember. Lily knew she had a good voice. Her father had taught her to sing since she was a little girl. Music was in her blood, but she had never performed in public before. She had never competed against other talented young people. The thought terrified her. But then she remembered her father's face when he saw Victoria at the hotel. She remembered the pain in his eyes. She remembered all the sacrifices he had made for her, and her fear turned into determination. She filled out the application form online. For the audition, she recorded a video of herself singing Forever Yours. Her voice trembled at first, but as the song continued, she grew stronger. She put all her love for her father into every word. When she finished, she uploaded the video and submitted her application. Now all she could do was wait. Weeks passed. Lily checked her email every day, hoping for news. She told no one about what she had done, not her friends, not her teachers, and definitely not her father. If he knew, he would stop her immediately. He would say it was too dangerous, too painful, too risky. Then, one afternoon, she found a letter in the mailbox. It had the Hayes Foundation logo on it. Her hands were shaking as she tore it open and read the words inside. Dear Miss Chen, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected as a finalist in the Hayes Foundation Music Scholarship Competition. The final round will be held at the Grand Palace Hotel on the evening of March 15th. You will perform in front of a panel of judges, including our founder, Ms. Victoria Hayes. Lily read the letter 3 times to make sure it was real. She had done it. She was going to perform her father's song in front of Victoria Hayes. She hid the letter in her bag and tried to act normal, but inside her heart was racing. She had set something in motion that could not be stopped. The truth was coming, whether anyone was ready for it or not. The days before the competition were the hardest of Lily's life. She had to keep her secret while preparing for the biggest moment she had ever faced. Every morning she woke up before her father and practiced the song quietly in the bathroom, the only place where she could sing without being heard. Every evening, she pretended to do homework while actually memorizing every word, every note, every breath of Forever Yours. Her father noticed something was different. He asked her several times if everything was okay. Was she having trouble at school? Was someone bothering her? Did she need anything? Lily smiled and said she was fine. She felt terrible for lying to him, but she knew this was the only way. If her father found out about her plan, he would stop her, and she could not let that happen. 1 week before the competition, Marcus came home early from work. Lily was in her room, practicing the song under her breath, when she heard him call her name. She quickly hid her notes and walked out to meet him. Her father was standing in the middle of the living room, holding an envelope. His face was serious. Lily, he said slowly, what is this? Lily's heart stopped. The envelope had the Hayes Foundation logo on it. It was a confirmation letter for the competition finals. She had hidden it in her school bag, but somehow her father had found it. I can explain, she said quickly. Please do. Her father's voice was calm, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. Because it looks like you entered a music competition without telling me. And not just any competition. A competition run by the Hayes Foundation. Lily took a deep breath. She had known this moment would come eventually. She had just hoped it would come after she had already performed. I did enter, she admitted, and I made it to the finals. Why? Her father asked. Why this competition? There are hundreds of music competitions out there. Why did you choose this one? Because I wanted to help you. The words came out before Lily could stop them. I know about Victoria Hayes, Dad. I know you loved her. I know she broke your heart. And I know you have been hiding your pain for my entire life. Marcus's face went pale. He sat down slowly on the old sofa, his hands trembling. How do you know all this? Lily sat next to him and took his hand. I found your box, the letters, the photos, and the tape. I listened to the song you wrote for her. Forever Yours. Marcus closed his eyes. For a long moment, he did not speak. When he finally opened his eyes again, they were filled with tears. That was a long time ago. Lily, a different life. I was a different person. But you never stopped loving her, Lily said gently. I can see it in your eyes. Every time you play the piano, you are playing for her. Every sad song you write is about her. She is still in your heart after all these years. Marcus shook his head slowly. You do not understand. Victoria left me without a word. She disappeared and never looked back. Whatever we had, she chose to end it. I have to respect that. But what if she did not choose to leave? Lily asked. What if she was forced? What if her family took her away? Dad, I have read about the Hayes family. Her father was a powerful and cruel man. He controlled everything. What if he found out about you and made her leave? Marcus looked at his daughter with surprise. He had never considered this possibility. In his pain and confusion 16 years ago, he had assumed that Victoria left because she stopped loving him. But what if there was another explanation? Even if that is true, he said slowly, it does not change anything. She is a billionaire CEO now. I am just a piano player at a hotel. We live in different worlds. There is no bridge between us anymore. The song is the bridge, Lily said firmly. You wrote Forever Yours as a promise to her. What if she never forgot that promise? What if she has been waiting all these years? Just like you. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the city lights, his mind lost in memories. Lily, I appreciate what you are trying to do, but this is not your battle to fight. I do not want you to get involved in my past. I am already involved, Lily said, standing up and walking to him. I entered the competition singing your song. I am a finalist. The final round is in 1 week, and Victoria Hayes will be there. She will hear the song again, and she will know. Marcus turned to face her, fear in his eyes. Lily, no, you cannot do this. You do not know what kind of people the Hayes family are. They are powerful and dangerous. If Victoria realizes who you are and where you got that song, there could be consequences. Bad consequences. I am not afraid, Lily said, her voice strong. I am doing this for you, Dad. You have given me everything my whole life. You sacrificed your dreams so I could have a good future. Now, let me do something for you. Let me help you find closure. Let me help you finally know the truth. Marcus stared at his daughter, seeing the determination in her eyes. She was so much like her mother. Sarah had the same stubborn strength, the same refusal to give up on the people she loved. He knew that once Lily made up her mind, nothing could change it. This is a mistake, he said softly, but I can see that you will not listen to me. I will not, Lily confirmed, but I am asking for your help. Teach me the song properly. Help me perform it the way it was meant to be performed. If I am going to do this, I want to do it right. Marcus sighed deeply. He walked to the old piano in the corner of the living room. It was not as grand as the one at the hotel, but it was the piano he had used to compose hundreds of songs. It was the piano where Forever Yours was born. He sat down and placed his fingers on the keys. Come here, he said to Lily. Sit next to me. Lily sat on the bench beside her father. He began to play the opening notes of the song. The melody filled the small apartment, beautiful and heartbreaking. This song is not just notes and words, Marcus said as he played. It is a story. It is the story of two people who found each other in a world that wanted to keep them apart. When you sing it, you have to feel their hope, their joy, their pain. You have to become the song. Over the next week, Marcus and Lily practiced together every night. He taught her the correct phrasing, the right moments to pause, the places where the emotion should build and release. He shared the story behind every line, explaining what he was thinking and feeling when he wrote each word. And as they practiced, something changed between them. The wall that Marcus had built around his past began to crumble. For the first time, he talked openly about Victoria. He told Lily about their first meeting, their walks by the river, the night he played the song for her. He described the love he felt and the devastation when she disappeared. Lily listened to every word. She cried with him when the memories became too painful. She held his hand when his voice broke. And she understood, finally, the depth of the wound her father had been carrying all these years. The night before the competition, Marcus sat with Lily in the living room. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of the city outside the window. I am scared, Lily admitted. What if I mess up? What if Victoria does not recognize the song? What if this whole thing was a terrible idea? Marcus put his arm around her shoulder. You will not mess up. You have your mother's voice and your grandmother's courage. And as for Victoria recognizing the song, trust me, she will. Some things are impossible to forget, no matter how hard we try. Will you come tomorrow? Lily asked. I know it will be hard for you, but I want you there. Marcus was silent for a long time. The thought of being in the same room as Victoria, of watching his daughter sing the song he wrote for his lost love, was almost too much to bear. But he looked at Lily's hopeful face and knew he could not let her down. I will be there, he said finally. Not at the piano this time. I will be in the audience, watching my daughter show the world what real love sounds like. Lily hugged her father tightly. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for trusting me. They held each other for a long time, two people bound by love and loss and the hope that tomorrow might finally bring some answers. Outside, the city continued its endless noise, but inside that small apartment, there was only silence and the promise of things to come. The morning of the competition arrived with gray clouds and cold wind. Lily stood by the window of their small apartment, watching the rain fall softly against the glass. Her stomach was full of butterflies, and her hands would not stop shaking. In just a few hours, she would stand on a stage in front of hundreds of people and sing a song that could change everything. Marcus was in the kitchen making breakfast. She could hear him moving around, the familiar sounds of pans and dishes that had been the soundtrack of her childhood. He was trying to act normal, but Lily knew he was just as nervous as she was, maybe even more. Eat something, Marcus said, placing a plate of eggs and toast in front of her. You need energy for today. Lily looked at the food but could not imagine eating. I do not think I can. Marcus sat down across from her and took her hands in his. His hands were warm and steady, the hands of a man who had played through countless nervous moments. Listen to me, he said gently. No matter what happens today, I am proud of you. You have more courage than anyone I know. You are fighting for something you believe in. That takes incredible strength. What if it does not work? Lily asked. What if Victoria does not care about the song anymore? What if she has completely forgotten about you? Marcus smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. Then at least we will know. Sometimes, the hardest part is not knowing. If today gives us answers, whatever they are, then it will be worth it. They sat together in silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. Then Marcus stood up and walked to his bedroom. He came back holding a small velvet box. I want you to have this, he said, placing it in Lily's hands. Lily opened the box and found a delicate silver necklace with a small musical note pendant. It was beautiful, simple, and elegant. It belonged to your grandmother, Marcus explained. She gave it to me before she died. She said it would bring luck to anyone who wore it while making music. I was wearing it the night I performed Forever Yours for Victoria. Lily felt tears forming in her eyes. Dad, I cannot take this. It means too much to you. That is exactly why I want you to have it, Marcus said. You are carrying my song into battle today. You should also carry a piece of our family history. Let it remind you that you come from strong people who never gave up, no matter how hard life became. Lily put on the necklace and hugged her father tightly. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you will ever know. The hours passed slowly. Lily spent the morning reviewing the song one more time, then took a long shower to calm her nerves. She dressed in a simple blue dress that her father had bought her for her last birthday. It was not expensive or fancy, but it was the nicest thing she owned. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a nervous teenage girl staring back at her. Was she really about to do this? At 3 o'clock, Marcus called for a taxi. They could not afford such things usually, but today was special. The taxi drove them through the city toward the Grand Palace Hotel. Lily watched the buildings pass by, her heart beating faster with every block. When they arrived at the hotel, Lily was overwhelmed by the grandness of everything. The lobby was filled with well-dressed people, cameras, and reporters. The competition was a big event, sponsored by wealthy companies and attended by important guests. Signs everywhere displayed the Hayes Foundation logo. Marcus squeezed Lily's hand. I will be in the audience, he said. I cannot sit in the front because I do not want Victoria to see me before you perform, but I will be there, watching every moment. You will not be alone. Lily nodded, unable to speak. A staff member guided her to a backstage area where the other finalists were waiting. There were 12 young performers in total, all of them talented and nervous. Some were warming up their voices. Others were stretching or pacing. The air was thick with anxiety and hope. Lily found a quiet corner and closed her eyes. She thought about her father. She thought about Victoria. She thought about the love story that had been interrupted 16 years ago. She was about to add a new chapter to that story. Whether it would be happy or sad, she did not know, but it was time. Meanwhile, in the main ballroom, Victoria Hayes was preparing for the evening. She sat in a private room reviewing the list of finalists with her assistant Rachel. The competition was important to her. Education had saved her life after the darkest period, and she wanted to give other young people the same chance. The performances will begin in 1 hour, Rachel said. All 12 finalists have checked in. The judges are ready. Everything is running smoothly. Victoria nodded absently. She had been distracted lately, ever since the charity gala a few weeks ago. She could not stop thinking about the piano player and the melody she heard that night. It had awakened memories she had spent years trying to bury. Memories of Marcus, memories of love, memories of the child she never got to hold. She shook her head, trying to focus. Tonight was about the young performers, not her past. She had to be present. She had to be the strong, composed CEO everyone expected her to be. Miss Hayes. Rachel was looking at her with concern. Are you all right? I am fine, Victoria said quickly. Let us go. It is almost time. The ballroom was magnificent. Hundreds of seats were arranged in front of a grand stage. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over everything. The judges sat at a long table near the front, notebooks ready. Important guests filled the first several rows, all of them wealthy donors and business leaders. Victoria took her seat in the center of the judges' table. She smiled and nodded at the people around her, playing her role perfectly. But inside, she felt empty. She always felt empty at these events. Success had given her everything except the one thing she truly wanted: love. The competition began. One by one, the young performers took the stage. They sang pop songs and classical pieces. They played instruments and danced. Some were excellent. Others were good but nervous. Victoria watched them all with a polite smile, making notes on her paper, playing the part of the engaged philanthropist. Then it was Lily's turn. Lily walked onto the stage, her legs trembling beneath her blue dress. The lights were bright, almost blinding. She could not see the audience clearly, which was both terrifying and comforting. Somewhere out there her father was watching. Somewhere out there, Victoria Hayes was waiting. She took her position at the microphone. A backing track began to play, the recorded version of her father's piano composition. The melody filled the room, soft and gentle, and Lily began to sing. Her voice started quietly, almost a whisper. The words of Forever Yours floated through the air like leaves on a gentle wind. She sang about finding someone in a crowded world, about the miracle of connection, about the promise to love forever. As she sang, her confidence grew. She forgot about the judges. She forgot about the audience. She forgot about everything except the song and what it meant. She sang for her father's broken heart. She sang for the love that was stolen 16 years ago. She sang for the truth that had been hidden for too long. In the judges' table, Victoria sat frozen. The blood had drained from her face. Her hands gripped the edge of the table so hard that her knuckles turned white. She knew this melody. She knew these words. This was the song Marcus had written for her. The song she had never forgotten. No matter how hard she tried, she stared at the young girl on stage. There was something familiar about her. The shape of her eyes, the way she moved her hands when she sang. Victoria's heart began to race. Who was this girl? How did she know this song? What was happening? Lily reached the final chorus. Her voice rose, powerful and pure, filling every corner of the grand ballroom. Tears were streaming down her face, but she did not stop. She sang the last note and held it until the music faded into silence. For a moment, no one moved. The audience sat in stunned silence, overwhelmed by what they had just witnessed. Then, slowly, people began to stand. Applause erupted like thunder, filling the room. People were crying. People were cheering. It was the kind of performance that came once in a lifetime, but Victoria did not applaud. She did not stand. She simply sat there, tears rolling down her cheeks, her carefully constructed walls crumbling around her. The past she had tried so hard to escape had finally caught up with her, and somewhere in the back of the audience, Marcus Chen sat in the shadows, watching his daughter triumph, feeling his heart break and heal at the same time. The applause continued for what felt like forever. People were on their feet, clapping and cheering for the young girl who had touched their hearts with a simple song. But Lily barely heard them. Her eyes were searching the crowd, trying to find her father, trying to see if he was proud of her. The competition host took the stage and thanked Lily for her beautiful performance. She bowed slightly and walked off the stage, her legs weak and her mind spinning. She had done it. She had sung the song. Now, whatever happened next was out of her hands. Backstage, the other finalists congratulated her. They said she was amazing, that they had never heard anything so beautiful, that she would definitely win. Lily thanked them politely, but she could not focus on their words. All she could think about was Victoria Hayes and the look she had seen on the woman's face during the performance. Even from the bright stage, she had noticed Victoria's reaction. The shock, the tears, the recognition. The competition continued with the remaining performers, but Lily could not watch. She sat in a corner, clutching the silver necklace her father had given her, waiting for the evening to end. In the ballroom, Victoria was struggling to maintain her composure. The other judges were asking her questions, seeking her opinion on the performances. She answered automatically, saying words she did not mean, pretending to be present when her mind was 1,000 miles away. Rachel noticed something was wrong. "Miss Hayes, should I get you some water? You look pale." "I need to find out who that girl was," Victoria whispered, "the one who sang the original song. Lily Chen. I need to know everything about her, where she comes from, who her parents are, how she got that song." Rachel looked confused but nodded. "I will look into it immediately." While Rachel went to gather information, Victoria tried to focus on the remaining performances, but nothing could compare to what she had heard. Lily's voice echoed in her mind, mixing with memories of a tiny apartment and a young man at a piano, playing the same melody with love in his eyes. When the competition ended, the judges gathered to decide the winner. It was an easy decision. Lily Chen had been extraordinary. Her emotional performance had moved everyone in the room. She was announced as the winner of the Hayes Foundation Music Scholarship. Lily walked back onto the stage to accept her award. The audience applauded again, and cameras flashed all around her. Victoria stood up from the judges' table and walked toward her, carrying a small trophy and an envelope containing the scholarship certificate. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. Victoria looked at this young girl, seeing something in her face that she could not explain. There was a connection, a pull that went beyond anything logical. "Congratulations," Victoria said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "Your performance was remarkable. That song, where did you learn it?" Lily took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been waiting for. "My father wrote it," she said clearly, making sure Victoria could hear every word. 16 years ago, he wrote it for the woman he loved. He called it Forever Yours. Victoria's hands began to shake. The trophy nearly slipped from her grip. "Your father," she repeated slowly. "Who is your father?" Lily turned and looked toward the back of the room. Everyone followed her gaze. There, standing in the shadows near the exit, was Marcus Chen. He stepped forward slowly, his face pale, his eyes locked on Victoria. A gasp went through the crowd. The hotel staff recognized him as their piano player. But Victoria saw something else. She saw the young man she had loved. She saw the person who had given her the only true happiness she had ever known. She saw everything she had lost. "Marcus," she whispered, the name escaping her lips like a prayer. Marcus walked toward the stage. The crowd parted for him, confused murmurs filling the room. He climbed the steps and stood next to his daughter, his eyes never leaving Victoria's face. "Hello, Victoria," he said softly. "It has been a long time." Victoria could not speak. 16 years of pain, 16 years of regret, 16 years of wondering what happened, all crashed over her at once. She had imagined this moment many times. She had practiced what she would say if she ever saw him again. But now, standing in front of him, all her words disappeared. "I need to speak with you," Victoria finally managed to say. "In private, please." Marcus looked at Lily. His daughter nodded encouragingly. This was what they had planned, what they had hoped for. The chance for answers. The chance for truth. "All right," Marcus said. "Let us talk." Victoria led them to a private room behind the ballroom. It was a small sitting room with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. She closed the door behind them, blocking out the noise of the confused crowd outside. The three of them stood in silence for a moment. Then Lily spoke. "I will wait outside," she said. "You two need to talk alone." Marcus started to protest, but Lily raised her hand. "This is your story, Dad. I just helped open the door. Now you need to walk through it." She kissed her father on the cheek and left the room, closing the door softly behind her. Marcus and Victoria were alone for the first time in 16 years. Victoria sat down heavily in one of the chairs. Her legs would no longer support her. "I never thought I would see you again," she said, her voice breaking. "I looked for you, Marcus, years ago, when I finally broke free from my father's control. But you were gone. Your apartment was empty. No one knew where you went." Marcus sat across from her. "I moved away after you left. I could not stay in that city anymore. Everything reminded me of you. I had to start over somewhere new." "And the girl?" Victoria asked. "Lily, she is your daughter." Marcus nodded. "I raised her alone. Her mother died when she was 5. She is my entire world." Victoria's eyes filled with fresh tears. "She is beautiful and talented." When she sang that song, I felt like I was back in your apartment, listening to you play for the first time. "Why did you leave, Victoria?" Marcus asked, the question burning in his throat. 16 years I have wondered. 16 years I have tortured myself trying to understand. You just disappeared without a word. I thought you stopped loving me. I thought everything we had was a lie. Victoria began to cry openly now. "It was never a lie, Marcus. I loved you more than I have ever loved anyone. But my father found out about us. He sent his men to take me away the night after you played that song. He threatened to destroy you if I ever tried to contact you again. He said he would ruin your life, make sure you could never work again, never play music again. I could not let that happen." Marcus felt his heart breaking all over again. "So you sacrificed yourself to protect me?" "I had no choice," Victoria sobbed. "My father was a monster. He controlled everything. When I tried to fight back, he locked me away. For years, I was a prisoner in my own home." "And after your father died," Marcus asked, "why did you not come find me then?" Victoria looked down at her hands. "By then, I was broken. I had become the person my father wanted me to be, cold, ambitious, focused only on business. I convinced myself that you had moved on, that you had found someone better, that I would only cause you pain if I came back into your life." Marcus reached across and took her hand. It was the first time they had touched in 16 years. "I never stopped loving you, Victoria. Every song I wrote was for you. Every night I played piano, I played for you. You were the one. You have always been the one." Victoria looked up at him, hope and fear mixing in her eyes. "Can you ever forgive me for leaving, for not fighting harder, for all the years we lost?" Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled sadly. "There is nothing to forgive. We were both victims of circumstances beyond our control. Your father tore us apart. Blaming you would be like blaming the ocean for a storm." They sat together, holding hands, letting 16 years of silence finally break. Outside, Lily waited anxiously, pressing her ear against the door, trying to hear what was happening. She could not make out words, but she heard something that made her smile. She heard the sound of her father laughing for the first time in years. Hours passed in that small room. Marcus and Victoria talked and cried and remembered. They shared stories of the years they had spent apart. Marcus told her about his travels, his struggles, his marriage to Sarah, and the joy of raising Lily. Victoria told him about her imprisonment in the Hayes mansion, her slow rise to power, and the emptiness that had filled her life despite all her success. But there was one story Victoria had not yet told. One secret that sat heavy in her heart, pressing against her chest, making it hard to breathe. She had tried several times to speak it, but the words kept getting stuck in her throat. Finally, as the clock struck midnight, Victoria knew she could not keep it inside any longer. "Marcus," she said, her voice trembling, There is something else I need to tell you, something that I have never told anyone. It is the reason I have never been able to move on, even after all these years. Marcus looked at her with concern. What is it? Victoria stood up and walked to the window. The city lights sparkled below, thousands of lives going on without any knowledge of the conversation happening in this room. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and closed her eyes. When my father took me away from you, I did not know I was pregnant. The words hung in the air like smoke. Marcus felt his body go numb. Pregnant, he whispered. Victoria nodded slowly. I found out a few weeks after they brought me home. I was carrying your child, Marcus, our child. Marcus stood up, his legs shaking. What happened? Where is the child now? Victoria's shoulders began to shake with sobs. My father would not allow it. He said a Hayes could not have a child with a common musician. He said it would bring shame to the family. He forced me to keep the pregnancy secret. No one knew except him and the family doctor. Victoria, what happened to our child? Marcus's voice was louder now, desperate. I gave birth alone in a private wing of our mansion, Victoria continued, tears streaming down her face. It was a girl. I only saw her for a moment. She was so small, so perfect. And then they took her away. My father told me she died. He said there were complications and the baby did not survive. Marcus fell back into his chair, his head in his hands. A daughter. We had a daughter. And she died. Victoria turned to face him. That is what I believed for 15 years. But last year I found out the truth. Marcus looked up sharply. The truth. Victoria walked to him and knelt before his chair, taking his hands in hers. I found documents in my father's old files. He did not tell me everything. The baby did not die, Marcus. My father took her away and gave her to an orphanage. He paid them to forge records, to make sure I would never find her. Marcus's mind was spinning. Our daughter is alive. She is out there somewhere. Victoria squeezed his hands. When I found out, I hired private investigators to search for her, but the records were destroyed years ago in a fire at the orphanage. The trail went cold. I have been searching ever since, but I have found nothing. Marcus could not breathe. All these years he had a daughter he never knew existed. A daughter who was taken from her mother at birth and given away like unwanted property. The cruelty of it was beyond comprehension. How could your father do this? Marcus asked, his voice filled with pain. How could anyone be so heartless? My father cared only about power and reputation, Victoria said bitterly. A grandchild from a poor musician would have been an embarrassment to him. He would rather destroy an innocent life than risk his precious family name. They sat together in grief, mourning a child they had lost before they even knew she existed. The weight of this revelation pressed down on both of them, adding another layer to their already broken hearts. Outside the room, Lily was still waiting. She had given up trying to hear through the door and was now sitting on a small bench in the hallway. She checked her phone repeatedly, wondering what was taking so long. Whatever they were discussing must be serious. Finally, the door opened. Victoria stepped out first, her face red and swollen from crying. She looked at Lily and something strange happened. Her expression changed. She stared at the young girl as if seeing her for the first time. Miss Hayes, Lily said uncertainly. Are you okay? Victoria did not answer. She walked toward Lily slowly, her eyes studying every detail of her face. The shape of her nose, the curve of her lips, the way she tilted her head when she was confused. Victoria's heart began to pound. How old are you, Lily? Victoria asked suddenly. Lily was confused by the question. 15. I will be 16 in 3 months. Victoria's hand flew to her mouth. 15 years old, the same age her lost daughter would be. She looked at Marcus, who had come out of the room behind her. His face showed the same realization dawning. Marcus, Victoria whispered, when did you adopt Lily? Where did she come from? Marcus froze. What are you asking? Please, Victoria begged. I need to know. Where did Lily come from? Marcus looked at his daughter, then back at Victoria. Sarah and I adopted her when she was only a few months old. Sarah could not have children of her own, and we wanted a family so badly. We found Lily through a private adoption agency connected to an orphanage. They told us her birth parents were unknown. Victoria began to tremble violently. Which orphanage? What was the name? Marcus thought back. It was so long ago. St. Mary's, I think. Yes, St. Mary's Home for Children. Victoria let out a cry that echoed through the hallway. St. Mary's was the orphanage where her father had sent her baby. The dates matched, the location matched, everything matched. What is going on? Lily asked, fear creeping into her voice. Dad, what is she talking about? What adoption? Marcus knelt down in front of his daughter, taking her hands. His eyes were full of tears. Lily, there is something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago. Dad, you are scaring me. Marcus took a deep breath. You are my daughter, Lily. You have always been my daughter. But Sarah and I, we did not give birth to you. We adopted you when you were a baby. We loved you from the first moment we saw you, and we have loved you every moment since. You are our child in every way that matters. Lily felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Adopted, she was adopted. Her whole life, she had believed that Marcus was her biological father. She had never questioned it. He was her dad. They looked alike, or so she had thought. They shared the same love for music. It had never occurred to her that they were not connected by blood. I do not understand, Lily said, her voice shaking. If I am adopted, then who are my real parents? Where did I come from? Victoria stepped forward. Tears were running down her face, but her voice was steady. I think I know, Lily. I think I know exactly where you came from. She reached out and touched Lily's face gently. 15 years ago, I gave birth to a baby girl. My father took her away from me and told me she died, but she did not die. He gave her to an orphanage to St. Mary's, and a loving couple named Chen adopted her and gave her the life I could never provide. Lily stared at Victoria, her mind refusing to process what she was hearing. Are you saying that I am your daughter? That my dad, the man who raised me, is not my biological father? Victoria nodded slowly. And Marcus, the man who wrote Forever Yours, the man who never stopped loving me, is your biological father? Lily turned to look at Marcus, the man she had called dad her entire life, the man who had taught her to sing, who had made her breakfast every morning, who had given her everything he had. He was not her real father, but he was both things at once, and Lily did not know what to feel. I do not understand, she said again, but this time the words came out as a sob. I do not understand any of this. Marcus pulled her into his arms and held her tight. It does not matter what the biology says. Lily, you are my daughter. You have been my daughter since the moment I held you in my arms 15 years ago. Nothing will ever change that. Nothing. Victoria watched them embrace, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. The child she had lost was found. The baby she had mourned was alive and standing right in front of her. But she also saw the bond between Marcus and Lily, a bond built over 15 years of love and sacrifice and shared life. She was Lily's mother by blood, but Marcus was Lily's father in every way that truly mattered. The three of them stood in the hallway, bound together by fate, trying to make sense of a truth that was too big for any of them to fully understand. The past had finally caught up with the present, and nothing would ever be the same again. The days following the revelation were the most difficult Lily had ever experienced. She went through waves of emotion that changed every hour. Sometimes she felt angry, furious that so many people had kept secrets from her for so long. Sometimes she felt sad, mourning the life she thought she knew, and sometimes she felt strangely relieved, as if pieces of a puzzle she never knew existed had finally fallen into place. Marcus was patient through all of it. He answered every question Lily asked, no matter how painful. He explained how he and Sarah had found her through the adoption agency. He described the moment they first saw her, a tiny baby wrapped in a pink blanket, and how they both knew immediately that she was meant to be their daughter. He told her about Sarah's love, how she had spent every day of her short life making sure Lily felt wanted and cherished. We never thought of you as adopted, Marcus said one evening as they sat together on the old sofa. You were simply our daughter, our miracle. When Sarah got sick, her biggest fear was not being able to see you grow up. She made me promise to love you enough for both of us. Lily cried when she heard this. She had always known that her father loved her deeply, but now she understood the full weight of that love. He had chosen her. He had dedicated his entire life to raising her even though they shared no blood. That was a love more powerful than any biological connection. The question of Victoria was more complicated. Lily had mixed feelings about the woman who was her biological mother. On one hand, she understood that Victoria had been a victim to. She had been forced to give up her baby by a cruel father. She had spent 15 years believing her child was dead. The pain Victoria must have carried was unimaginable. But on the other hand, Lily could not simply switch her feelings overnight. Victoria was a stranger. She did not know Lily's favorite foods or her childhood fears or the silly songs Marcus used to sing to help her fall asleep. She had not been there for the first day of school, the birthday parties, the late-night talks about boys and dreams in life. Those memories belonged to Marcus and the memory of Sarah. Victoria understood this. She did not push or demand anything from Lily. Instead, she asked for small things. A chance to have coffee together, an invitation to one of Lily's school events, little opportunities to build a relationship slowly, brick by brick. I am not trying to replace anyone, Victoria told Lily during one of their meetings. I could never replace the father who raised you or the mother who loved you. I just want a chance to know you, to be part of your life in whatever way you are comfortable with. Lily appreciated Victoria's patience. She agreed to give the relationship a chance, though she made it clear that Marcus would always be her father, no matter what any DNA test might say. As for Marcus and Victoria, their reconnection was both beautiful and bittersweet. They spent hours together, talking about the past and carefully exploring what the future might hold. The love between them was still there, buried under years of pain and separation, but slowly coming back to life. I wasted so much time, Victoria said one evening as they walked along the river, the same river where they had walked 16 years ago. I let fear and doubt keep me from finding you. I convinced myself that you would be better off without me. Marcus took her hand. We both made choices based on the information we had. We cannot change the past. All we can do is decide what happens next. What do you want to happen next? Victoria asked softly. Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. I want to know you again. The real you. not the CEO everyone sees in magazines. I want to see if the woman I fell in love with is still in there somewhere." Victoria smiled. The first genuine smile Marcus had seen on her face since they reunited. She said. "She has been hiding for a long time, but she is still here." The weeks passed, and slowly a new kind of family began to form. It was not conventional or easy to explain. Lily had a father who raised her and a biological mother who was learning to know her. Marcus had a daughter he loved more than life and a lost love who had returned in the most unexpected way. Victoria had found both the child she thought she had lost and the man she had never stopped loving. Victoria began using her wealth and influence to help Marcus rebuild his music career. She introduced him to record producers and arranged for him to perform at high-profile events. At first, Marcus was uncomfortable with the help. He had spent years proving that he did not need anyone's charity, but Victoria convinced him that she was not giving him anything he did not deserve. "You are brilliant, Marcus," she said. "The world should hear your music. I am just opening doors. You have to walk through them yourself." Marcus agreed to try. He recorded a professional version of Forever Yours, with Lily singing the vocal part. The song was released through Victoria's media connections and quickly became a sensation. People all over the country were moved by its beauty and by the story behind it. News outlets covered the tale of the poor piano player, the billionaire CEO, and the daughter who brought them back together. Suddenly, Marcus was no longer a background musician at a hotel. He was a headline, a symbol of hope and second chances. Interview requests poured in. Concert offers arrived. Record companies wanted to sign him. Everything he had dreamed of as a young man was finally within reach, but fame and success meant nothing compared to what Marcus had already gained. He had his daughter, he had his music, and he had Victoria, the woman who had haunted his dreams for 16 years, back in his life again. One evening, as autumn turned, the city leaves gold and red. Marcus sat at the grand piano in Victoria's mansion. It was a beautiful instrument, worth more than everything Marcus had ever owned. But when he played, he was not thinking about money or success. He was thinking about the journey that had brought him here. Lily sat on a nearby chair, listening to her father play. Victoria stood by the window, watching both of them with tears in her eyes. The scene was perfect, a moment frozen in time, a family finally together after so many years apart. "Play the song, Dad," Lily said softly. "Play Forever Yours." Marcus smiled and began to play. The melody filled the room, the same melody he had composed in a tiny apartment 16 years ago. But it sounded different now. It sounded complete. It sounded like home. Victoria walked to the piano and sat next to Marcus on the bench. She leaned her head on his shoulder and closed her eyes. "I never forgot this song," she whispered. "Not for a single day." "Neither did I," Marcus replied. "It was my way of keeping you close, even when you were gone." Lily watched her parents together and felt something she had never felt before. It was not quite happiness, though happiness was part of it. It was something deeper, something she could not name. It was the feeling of being exactly where she was supposed to be, with exactly the people she was supposed to be with. The broken pieces of their lives were finally coming together. The wounds were beginning to heal, and the song that had started everything was playing once again, promising forever to everyone who listened. 1 year had passed since the night Lily sang Forever Yours at the Hayes Foundation competition. So much had changed since then that sometimes she felt like she was living in a completely different life. The small apartment where she grew up was just a memory now. The struggles and worries about money had faded away, but the things that truly mattered, love, family, and music, were stronger than ever. Marcus had become one of the most talked about musicians in the country. His album, which included several new songs alongside the famous Forever Yours, had sold millions of copies. Critics praised his emotional depth and technical skill. Audiences loved his humble personality and inspiring story. He performed in concert halls that he once could only dream of entering. But through all the success, Marcus remained the same man he had always been. Kind, gentle, and completely devoted to his daughter. Victoria had also changed. The cold, distant CEO that everyone knew had slowly disappeared. In her place was a warmer, softer woman who smiled more easily and laughed without restraint. She had reduced her work hours and stepped back from some of her business responsibilities. For the first time in her life, she was putting personal happiness above professional achievement. She and Marcus had rebuilt their relationship slowly and carefully. They did not rush into anything. Both of them carried scars from the past, wounds that needed time to heal. But with each passing day, their love grew stronger. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. They took long walks in the park. They cooked dinner together in Victoria's enormous kitchen, making simple meals that reminded them of the old days. Lily watched their relationship develop with mixed feelings at first. It was strange to see a father, who had been alone for so long, falling in love again. Part of her felt protective, worried that Victoria might hurt him somehow. But as time passed, she saw how happy Marcus was. She saw the light return to his eyes. She saw him laugh and smile in ways she had never seen before. And Victoria, despite everything, had become someone Lily genuinely cared about. They had built their own relationship, separate from Victoria's connection to Marcus. They went shopping together. They watched movies and argued about the endings. Victoria helped Lily with her college applications and gave her advice about life and business and following dreams. She was not trying to be a replacement mother. If she was simply being a friend, a mentor, and something else that did not have a name, but was no less important. The foundation dinner arrived on a beautiful spring evening. The event had been planned for months and was being held to celebrate the anniversary of the scholarship program and to raise money for expanding it to more cities. But this year, the dinner had special significance. It would feature a live performance by Marcus Chen, with special guest vocalist Lily Chen, and there were rumors that an important announcement would be made. The Grand Palace Hotel ballroom was filled with hundreds of guests. Famous faces from business, entertainment, and politics sat at elegantly decorated tables. Cameras from major news networks were positioned around the room. The air buzzed with anticipation. Victoria took the stage first. She wore a stunning emerald dress and her hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked more beautiful than anyone had ever seen her, and it was clear that the change came from within. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice clear and confident. "As many of you know, this foundation is deeply personal to me. Education changed my life. It gave me opportunities that I never thought possible, and I believe every child deserves those same opportunities, regardless of where they come from or how much money their family has." The audience applauded politely. Victoria continued, "But tonight, I want to talk about something even more personal. Many of you have heard the story of Forever Yours, the song that brought together a poor musician and a lonely CEO after 16 years apart. What you may not know is that this song also brought me something I thought I had lost forever. It brought me my daughter." A murmur went through the crowd. Victoria paused, gathering her courage. 15 years ago, I was forced to give up my baby. I was told she died. I mourned her every day for 15 years. But she was alive. She was raised by the most loving father any child could ask for, and she found me through the power of a song. Victoria looked toward the side of the stage where Lily stood waiting. "Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce you to Lily Chen, the winner of last year's scholarship competition, an incredibly talented singer, and my biological daughter." Lily walked onto the stage, nervous but smiling. The audience erupted in applause, many people visibly moved by Victoria's words. Mother and daughter embraced on stage, cameras flashing all around them. Then Victoria turned back to the microphone. "But there is one more person I need to thank. The man who raised Lily as his own. The man who wrote Forever Yours as a promise of eternal love. The man who never gave up on music, never gave up on our daughter, and never gave up on me." Marcus walked onto the stage, looking handsome in a simple black suit. He stood next to Victoria and Lily, completing the picture of a family reunited. The applause grew louder. "Marcus Chen," Victoria said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You are the love of my life. You always have been, and I do not want to spend another day without you knowing exactly how I feel." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The audience gasped as she opened it to reveal a simple gold ring. "I know this is not traditional," Victoria said, tears forming in her eyes. "I know the man is usually supposed to do this, but we have never been traditional. You and I, we have done everything our own way. So I am asking you, Marcus Chen, in front of all these people, in front of our daughter, will you marry me?" Marcus stared at the ring, then at Victoria, then at Lily, who was crying and nodding encouragingly. He had never expected this. He had never dared to dream that the woman he loved would ask him to spend forever with her. "Yes," he said simply. "Yes, of course, I will marry you." The ballroom exploded with cheers and applause. Victoria slipped the ring onto Marcus's finger and they kissed, a kiss 16 years in the making. Lily threw her arms around both of them, laughing and crying at the same time. When the noise finally died down, Marcus took his place at the grand piano that had been set up on stage. Lily stood next to him with a microphone in her hand. Victoria returned to her seat in the front row, her face glowing with happiness. "This song brought us together," Marcus said to the audience. "It kept us connected through years of separation, and now we want to share it with you. This is Forever Yours." He began to play, and Lily began to sing. The melody filled the room, beautiful and heartbreaking and full of hope. Every person in the audience felt the emotion behind the words. Some cried, some held hands with the people they loved. All of them were reminded of what really matters in life. When the song ended, the silence lasted only a moment before the room burst into thunderous applause, a standing ovation that went on and on. A celebration not just of the music but of the incredible journey that had led to this moment. Later that night, after the guests had gone and the cameras had stopped rolling, Marcus, Victoria, and Lily stood together on the balcony of the hotel, looking out at the city lights. "What happens now?" Lily asked. Marcus put his arm around his daughter. "Now we live, we laugh, we make music, we enjoy every moment we have together." Victoria took Lily's hand. "Now we become the family we were always meant to be, maybe not in the way we expected, but in the way that fate intended." Lily smiled and leaned her head against her father's shoulder. She thought about everything that had happened, all the pain and loss and confusion, and how it had all led to this moment. She thought about the song her father wrote 16 years ago, A song that survived time and distance and heartbreak to bring three broken people back together. Forever yours, she said softly. It was always true, was it not? The promise in the song, it was always true. Marcus kissed the top of her head. The truest words I ever wrote. The city sparkled below them, full of millions of stories waiting to be told. But their story, the story of a piano player, a CEO, and the daughter who united them, had finally found its happy ending. And somewhere in the night, carried by the wind, the melody of Forever Yours played on, a reminder that love, true love, never really ends. It just waits for the right moment to begin again.